Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. On today's tutorial, I'll be sharing with you guys how to draft and sew this backless shirt. Make sure you stay to the end, please, because I'll be sharing with you guys some tricks on how to avoid some mistakes. Okay, let's get started, guys. So this is the fabric I'm working with. I'm working with this Atiwe fabric. They are two different types, and these are just small fabrics. Okay, so let's try and manage it. Now we'll head over to our pattern. I've already gone ahead to draft the basic. Okay, if you don't know how to draft a basic pattern, please check out my videos on how to draft a basic pattern. So I'll just explain what I did. I measured from my shoulder to my bust point, which is 11, my shoulder to my waist, 16 inches, and then 24 for the length of the top. Okay, you can decide to make yours as long as you want, but mine is going to be more than 24. You can see me saying add 3 inches, so in total my shirt length was 27, but my pattern was not enough, so I just decided to indicate to add that amount. Okay, now this is me leveling this part, which is my button allowance, and that button allowance is 3 inches. You can decide to do two, but because I won't be adding any interfacing on it, so I decided to make it three. By the time I fold it is going to be a little bit thick. Okay, so you can do two or three, anyone. Now I'll go ahead to mark my bust measurement divided by 4 plus 1.5. Now it all depends on you how big you want yours. So I don't want mine to be big, so I added extra 1.5 to my measurements, half inch for sewing, or you can use 1 inch for sewing, then half inch for your allowance. Okay, I think I used 1 inch for sewing, so half an inch was for the ease. Now on the waist as well, I'll also mark my waist divided by 4 plus 1.5. All right, now for my bust point, that's on my chest line, my paper was not enough to add the 1.5, so I think what I have there is just 1 inch. I will add extra half inch on the material. Same on my hip. My hip is 40 divided by 4, which is 10, and I have less than 1.5. I think I had like half an inch extra left, so I was going to add I think I had 0.25 here, so I was going to add 1.25 extra. All right, when I'm cutting. Okay, so I'm going to add extra 0.5 on the bust line, on the chest line or the bust line, and 1.25 on my hip line. So that's what I'm trying to tell you guys, and I also went ahead to shape it. So please, if yours is like this, make sure you do the same. But if your fabric or your pattern is enough for all of this, you don't need to do this plenty calculations, but I'm just trying to explain to you guys. Okay, so it is basically your bust divided by 4 plus 1.5, and I'll go ahead to do my armhole curve. All right, now you already know how to do the armhole curve. This is not a tutorial for basic bodies, so we are almost done. It is a very simple thing. All right, now I'm going to go in by 1 inch. I think I did 1 inch, but I eventually reduced it to half an inch. All right, so I will connect from that 1 inch to the bust line. Now this is dependent on you. If you don't want this to get to the bust point, please stick to the armhole line. Oh, because when you do this, you might end up having um a big or excesses around your armhole or around the bust, because it is not on the armhole line. Okay, and if your fabric is not stable enough, is a stretchy fabric, trust me, it is not going to relax. Okay, and you might end up having to put that around that part. So, and I'll also share with you guys that eventually when we get to the stage. So that's what I did here. Okay, so if you don't want yours to be, please don't do that. Just connect it to the armhole line. And I also remember that my material is longer, so I added that 3 inches that I marked on the paper that we're going to add. Okay, I have gone ahead to cut one part of the shirt, and I also cut the other part of the shirt. Remember, um we are using two fabrics for the shirt for the front, so I'm just going to place the right side of my first one that I cut to the right side of the other fabric. Okay, so we can cut the other side of the shirt. So that's just what I'm making sure that, okay, I'm cutting it on the right side. Now I'll make sure that it is right side to right side, or if you don't want to do that, I can do wrong side to wrong side. Okay, make sure they are aligned, because now this is what it looks like after cutting them together. All right, now we are going to head over to our ironing. Okay, we're going to go over and do our back. Sorry, I'm just too fast forward. I'm too forward, please. Let's go and do our back. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. Now, this bag depends on how you want it, but always make sure that the sides align. Okay, that's like the major thing you need to take care of. So if you connected that your alternate effect on your armhole line, you're going to start from your armhole line. Okay, but you have to make sure that the side of the front and the back are lined. So I'm just trying to gauge where I want my, you need to tie it, so you don't need it to be straight. It needs to be slopy or slanted, like from the side to be slanted, so you can be able to tie it. That's just basically what I'm just trying to explain. You can use your measurement to do it, but I don't really think if you put your tape rule, you should be able to see how you want it. So I've already got ahead to mark this. Always remember that we're going to stay at 0 point half inch on the side, on the bust side, 1.25 on the hip area, and also 4 inches on the hem. And I've gone ahead to cut. If you see from the hem, I also did like a curve upwards, so that we'll just have a smaller, something to tie around the back. It's not too big, so you can tie and it will relax. So that's what I just did. You can see my rope is not so long, but it is enough. And I also cut in two pieces of it. You can see by the time you match the sides together, it's going to align. So that should be your major priority. They should be able to align it. Okay, so it is very very simple, nothing much. Now please pardon the way I'm talking, I'm really not strong. Now we're going to fold our zipper allowance, sorry, our bust, what's it called, button allowance here. Now remember we did 3 inches, so we're going to fold 1 inch. All right, when you fold 1 inch first is one, the second one is two, then the third one is three. So we're going to be folding it into three. That's the reason why I said if you don't want to fold it up to three, just do 2 inches, so you just fold into two. But I don't want to fold into two because my fabric, I wanted it to be a little bit thicker. I didn't want to add gum state to it. Okay, so folding it into three will give you a thicker um or a more stable fold. I don't know if that makes sense. So that's why I did. But if you don't want that, you can still do 3 inches, but you want it to be a bit wider, and then you can fold twice. So just fold one and a half and fold again. So you have consumed the 3 inches like that, and it's a bit wide for you and all of that. I don't know if that is explanatory. I believe it is, but if you don't want to fold it into three times, please just add 2 inches for your button and fold twice, and that is it. I'm gonna head to stitch and also iron, and you can see how everything is coming together already, looking pretty pretty pretty. So now we're going to match up the sides, so we can go ahead to join the sides of the front and the back. Okay, so I'm just matching up the sides. If you cut it correctly, your sides should be matching properly. And I also go ahead and fold all the sides. I'll fold the side, the rope, the back, everything. I'm gonna head to join an iron as well. You can see how neatly it is looking. I also folded. You can see how tiny my foldings is. And yeah, now you can see from this my shirt, the halter neck side, you can see that is looking big, not like big, but it's stretched, like it's a bit stretched out. You know how abdomen fabric can be. So that's why I said if your fabric is not stable, please don't take it up to the bust, just do it to the armhole to give you the same thing. Okay, so I'll go ahead to measure my collar. Okay, what I have on the front, and I have 5.25, that's about 11, sorry, 10 and a half. But I want my collar to be 17 inches. Okay, that's my round collar. I want it to be 17 inches, so I've gone ahead to mark a starting point on my line, on my fabric, sorry. And I'll first of all mark 1.25 for my collar stand. Okay, I'll mark 1.25 for my collar stand, and I'll divide my 17 into two, and I will mark it. All right, so I'll divide my collar with into two, and I'll mark, and I'll connect, and then connect like so. Remember the collar stand is 1.25. You can try to do 1 inch. Okay, you can still try to do one and a half. I don't know, but I use 1.25. And then for the main collar, I'll be using two and a half. Now this two I have is including my allowance, so in total I want my collars to be 2 inches. If you want yours to be bigger, also go ahead to mark that. So that's what I have. Now on the collar stand, I will go ahead and mark 1 inch inside. Okay, remember the collar, the main collar is always 1 inch or 1.25 shorter than the collar stand. That's just what I marked. So for the main collar, instead of doing 8.5, I think I did 9 inches or 9.5. Okay, so it's a little bit bigger than the collar stand. All right, so we are doing this so that we can just have a nice pointy collar at the end. So I'll just connect from that 1 inch I came in on the collar stand to the 9 inches for the collar. And please, I almost forgot, add your allowance. So if you're cutting on fabric, please go ahead and add your allowance. But if you're cutting on on a paper, you can just come and then transfer it. So I just went ahead to add my half inch allowance all around. Okay, so I don't forget though. It is very important. If not, okay, I don't know what to say. So I'll just go ahead and do all of that and then I'll cut. Okay, you can see how it looks. I'll cut it and then I'll cut another one that's into two for the facing. So I've gone ahead to cut another facing of it. Oh, at this point, if you want to add an interfacing, go ahead and do that, but I won't be adding. I don't want any interfacing on any of this. All right, now we're going to go ahead and start sewing. They remember the ½ inch we added all around. That's what we are going to use and sew all around. And we are going to also, I'll show you guys. Now you can see what I did here when I was folding, when I was sewing. Remember we added ½ inch on the hem, on the lower part of, like, for the joining now, right? So you're going to fold a ½ inch inwards, making one side to be a bit longer. Okay, the side that will be a bit longer is the side that will like use and stitch on top, so that by the time you're stitching it on top, everything will relax and you're not going to be seeing the other side. I don't know if this is explanatory, but it's just simple. So just fold and then make one side a little, just little, a little longer. Mm? And this is me after ironing, and you can see how beautiful looking our collar looks. And yeah, I forgot to mention, this is a cut together collar, right? You don't need to do too much for this shirt though. I don't think it's necessary. Now we are going to start attaching the collar to the shirt. It is very, very simple, nothing serious. Just align or make your, try to position the collar the way it's going to be on the clothes. And now that this collar that we stitch, we are going to lose it though, so that you can be able to stitch them properly. Okay, you might be like, why did I stitch it in the first place? But please stitch it also, you will know. Now remember the stitch line, you're going to see it if you're sewing. Oh, that's the ½ inch we stitched to close that collar. You're going to see it. So let your fabric be placed directly on that ½ inch. Please don't pass it though, if not it's going to be inside. I believe when you're sewing you will see it, because my video, I don't think is really showing you guys, but by the time you're done doing this, or when you're doing this, you should be able to understand this. Okay, so I'm going ahead to pin. We have to stitch it. We'll also do the same thing to the other side. We have to go and stitch it. Okay, please, like I said, bring your collar, losing a part of it, just a little part. Okay, and then you just place your, I think that's right side of the collar to wrong side of the material. Okay, wrong side of the material, and pin by ½ inch. Remember the ½ inch we added on the collar for folding, that's what you're going to use. And so pin, and please make sure you're doing this properly. It can be a little bit confusing. I almost got confused, but it is nothing too serious. Just walk around with it. Pin, place your shirts from the starting of, like, the stitch on the collar. Okay, so it aligns very well and is equal, and then you're just going to pin and sew. Very, very simple, nothing too serious. Okay, and afterwards, when you're done sewing, you close up that opening that you just, that collar side that you just losing now, you just close it up and then top stitch. So that is it. I've gone ahead to sew the collar to the shirt. All right, you can see I'm just showing you guys, and I also close the collar. You can see what I did. I closed the collar stand. I'm just going to turn it, and this is what you have if you do it well. Oh, it's going to be really really seamless and equal. Especially, it should be very very equal on that shirt button side. Pardon me, if you do it very well. Okay, so this is what you're going to be having after doing that. Now we're going to go ahead and top stitch. All right, we're going to top stitch nicely. Please let it be neat and straight. We're going to top stitch and I'll show you guys what we have afterwards. You can also go ahead and iron the collar. So I'm going to add the top stitch and I also ironed the collar into two. Okay, you can see how neat our collar is looking. Ooh, I'm really excited. Now this is what we have so far. Now if you look at my shirt, you can see that around that um alter neck effect is a little bit kind of stretchy, kind of like it's not straight. That's because of the fabric. And please, I would advise you to just stop on the chest line, but if you don't want to, go ahead to connect however you want. Now after wearing this, after testing it, I realized that the side were not lapping. Remember, I've been emphasizing on the side being a little bit stretchy. Okay, it was not, it was just open. I believe it's because of the fabric. And please don't pardon, that is why I'm here for you guys. And I'm not going to just share the good parts and leave the errors for you. No, no, no. We are going to correct it together. I already did the same thing. I already corrected the other side, and I'll just go ahead and show you guys what I did here. So when you wear it and you see the excesses around, just make sure you use your hand to pick the excess to know how much it is. For me, it was about 2.5, and I think from 2 to 3 should be enough. Like, I don't think you should be taking more than that. Okay, take from 2 to 2.5, say for 3. That should be enough. You know, it's a shirt, it doesn't have to be fitted and all of that. Okay, so for me it was 2.5, and I did not want it to look like a basic dart or to look like it is a dart, so I had to connect it up to the button side of the shirt so it just looks more like a design. Okay, so any error is a design. It is not an error typically, it's just something you can avoid. That's what I'm showing you guys, so you can avoid all these things. When you're sewing with fabrics that are not stable, please go ahead, don't just be careful with whatever you're doing. You can try to add that on your pattern, or if you don't want to add any that, please just stop that curve, that alter effect directly on your chest line or your armhole line, so you don't have this. And if you end up having this, just do this and it will be corrected, and it is very still very beautiful. It gives your boobs more space for you to enter. You can see how I was just showing you guys, don't make it straight, just try to like curve it so it doesn't look like a basic dart. Okay, so I just did like a little bit curving around there, and this is what we have. Very nice, and I just feel like I actually liked it the way it came out because it looked more like a design. So I'll go ahead to iron and you can see what my shade looks like. This color is really beautiful, and that's just basically it. So if you encounter this issue, please go ahead to just do this I did, and you're going to have your dress or your shirt looking beautiful. Okay, thank you guys so much for sticking to the end. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share and comment in the comment section.